Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. How are you? How's it going? All right. All right. Everybody, so, I want to get a gun. I do. I really do. I never had that feeling before till I moved out to Los Angeles. This city just messes with your mind, you know? It's overpopulated, technically doesn't have a water supply, right? The dollar's crashing. Shit keeps you up at night. You're just thinking, what am I gonna do when the zombies come? Right? Start reading up on shit. Get some powdered food, plant some zucchini, get a windmill, right? And that's all well and good, but if you don't know how to fight, all you're doing is gathering supplies for the toughest guy in the block. Right? Just thinking about that. What am I gonna do? Some dude turns me upside down, starts shaking the gold coins out of my pockets. I gotta get a gun. So I'm on the road, right? I'm in Reno. Great gun town. So I go down to that little gun store, right? Come walking in, there's some redneck there. I'm like, hey man, I want to get a gun. He's like, I hear you. What you looking for? What you want? Mossberg, over under, 357 Magnum, right? Starts rattling off all this gibberish, right? I don't know shit. I'm trying to play it off. I feel like a bitch because I don't know anything about guns. So I was like, what do I do here? Hell, I'm gonna go with honesty. I go, look, dude, I don't know anything about guns. They terrify me, but I'm worried about the zombies. All right? Dude's just like, you need a shotgun. You need a shotgun, man. It's got a good spread. It's easy to load, doesn't have a lot of working parts, got a good spread. He kept saying that. It's got a good spread. I'm like, what does that mean? He goes, well, it means you ain't got to be that accurate. It's got a good spread. Further away you are, the more shit you hit. It's got a good spread. In fact, you got a problem over here, you ain't even got to look. You just turn, wow, that's it. You ain't got a problem over here anymore. Anything that was even remotely a problem ain't there anymore. Trust me. And then these people here, they saw what you just did here. You ain't got a problem here either. Feel me? 90 degrees taken care of right there. One shot. These people get smart, flip it over. Wow, that's it. It's got a good spread. So I'm like laughing my ass off. I'm like, dude, look, I just want to shoot the guy. I don't have to do a bunch of drywall work, you know? Reframe my diploma. Get my parakeet another friend, you know? I just want to shoot the guy. So I'm like, you know, how about one of these pistols? So he does like that classic, like that redneck trailing off thing, like, you want a pistol? Go ahead, get a pistol. What do I know? I just been here 20 years. You know? Get a shiny one, right? So I was like, what's wrong with getting a pistol? He goes, I'll tell you what, buddy. Because life ain't a movie. You feel me? I'm like, no. Can you please stop speaking in these backwoods riddles? Can you just say what you're saying? I told you I don't know shit about guns. Come on, do me a solid here. He goes, well, look, you ever watch a movie? Guy go, blah, blah, blah. He kills 3 people. Real life, man, you miss. You miss all the fucking time. You miss enough times, man, you're empty. You might as well just be standing there with a big stapler in your hand. Then what you gonna do? I was like, well, fuck it, let's get the shotgun. So he's all ready to box the thing up, and then I'm like, wait a minute. I live with my girl, I can't just show up with a shotgun, right? That's not some shit you can just come home with. If I found this stool on the side of the road, I can come home with this. Look at it. We can refinish it. We can carve our initials in it. We can have a good time, right? They just show up with a shotgun. Hey, I got it for us, right? One barrel for you, one for me? No. So she kiboshes the whole thing. Till the other night, somebody broke into our car sitting in the driveway. Starts fucking with her head, right? So she starts reading up on guns, you know? She's reading too much, because now she wants to get one, but she's just like, well, I heard you got to keep the bullets in the safe, keep the stock in the garage. And then what? Then what? I run around the house and assemble it? There's some dudes chasing me with an axe? You know, are you even thinking this thing through, sweetheart? Just running around. Where's the scope? It's in the living room. He's in the living room. No, we're getting this thing. I want that fucking thing loaded right on the bedroom wall, right there. I'll put that thing on my jam sleeves. Just like that. There's no other point. That's funny, though, when you talk about getting a gun, you know? People, like, they either totally for it or completely against it. You know, they either go nuts and start screaming, right? Or they start throwing out those stats. Yeah, actually, you increase your chances of getting shot by 80% the second you get a gun in the house. Really? What, because I'm going to load it and shower with it? Like, The fuck? I know it's dangerous. You get a pool in your backyard, you immediately increase your odds of drowning in your backyard, right? You couldn't do that before, now you step on a rake, in you go. No, I'm telling you, I don't buy into any of that shit. Stats are so fucking stupid, you know? Not that they're stupid, it's the way people apply them. You already have your mind made up, and then you go to I'mRight.com, and you start memorizing a bunch of shit, and then you just throw it up at people. This guy tried to get me to go scuba diving. I go, I'm not going, I don't want to get eaten by a shark. He's like, well, actually, 90% of shark attacks actually happen in shallow water. It's like, no shit, it's where the people are. Now, it's called the beach. 90% of people are frolicking along the coastline. It's like there's people swimming to Europe. Let's go to Iceland, you pussies. Right? I don't know. But actually, I actually like Los Angeles. One of the few East Coast people that likes it. All my moron New York friends and Boston friends, they come out there, try to get a good slice of pizza at 4 in the morning. They can't. Like, this fucking place sucks. It's not like exactly where I left. What's the point of traveling if it's gonna be different? They're so fucking stupid. Get a burrito and go on a hike. What's wrong with you? You're gonna go to Hawaii? There's no pond hockey. This place sucks. I got to admit, the only thing that freaks me out about Los Angeles is all the plastic surgery. I don't get it. Why do people get plastic surgery? You know? Why can't you just admit it's over? You know? You had your time. Stop trying to look fuckable in your 50s. It's weird. With their faces yanked back, looking all shiny, right? Not to mention they haven't even figured it out. You know? Why would you get a facelift? Can't you look at other facelifts and realize they haven't worked all the bugs out yet? Right? That's what you want to look like? Like you just lost a fight 3 days ago? Don't be a hero. Let somebody else go in there. Take the fucking beach. You lay back. Wait it out. They're just lying to people. I know, looks great. Put a little ice on it. We'll see you in a couple weeks. All right, take it easy. Jesus Christ, what the fuck happened? We followed every step. Did we miss something? Oh, hey. Oh, here's your keys. There you go. Almost didn't recognize you. You look so young. All right, take it easy. She gone? All right, she's gone. All right, shred everything. Shred it. No, you're nuts. You wait it out. Let them figure it out. Then you fucking go in. Don't be a goddamn hero. You know? Look at hair plugs. Hair plugs don't look half bad now. Saw this guy the other night on TV. He's like, oh, God, I wish I did this 10 years ago. It's like, no, you don't. 10 years ago, when they were stapling ant legs to the top of people's heads. Remember that? Your eyes would water looking at their hairline. Like, is that sewn in? I see pine tar. They used to put you in like a headlock. Hold still. Use like a nail gun. Hold still. Guys would tap out after a row and a half. Fuck it. I don't give a shit. You wish you got hair plugs 10 years ago. Do you wish you got polio 60 years ago? What else is on your wish list, sir? No, you don't fuck with your face. Okay? I understand liposuction. They screw that up. You can put on a shirt, right? There's no shirt for your face. Who do they think they're fooling? But they're stupid, you know? And then you lie to yourself. I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna do this. Just gonna have this done. No, you're not. You're not. What are you? You're just gonna wax the fender on your car? Then that's it. And the rest of it looks all shitty. Well, maybe I'll just do the hood, and maybe I'll do the back. That's how it happens. Then you look like one of those Real Housewives, like face all twisted up. Fucking idiots. Do I look? They're idiots. Do I look like I'm in my 20s? No, you look weird. You look fucking weird. You still look like you're in your 50s. I just can't guess what year anymore because I've never seen that year. I've never seen that shiny fucking look. It's almost like you discovered a new age between 52 and 53. Yeah. People, there's nothing wrong with being 52 and looking 52. All right? You're 52. You didn't get fucked. Yeah. What would you rather be? 52 and look 52 or be 52 and look like a 28-year-old lizard? All right? That's your options at this point. You know what's really like actually embarrassing is that the facelift, that's predominantly a white problem. You notice that? I've never seen a black person with a facelift ever. Other than like the Jacksons, but they're all out of their minds, right? Because their dad made them rehearse all day and sleep in the fireplace. Right, jamming all night. Get in there, you bastards! No hugs, no kisses. His face permanently twisted up from 50 years of screaming, "Sing, motherfucker!" It's understandable with them. Hey, do you know why so many whiteys need facelifts? I love that word. I'm trying to bring it back. I love it. It's funny. Whitey! You know why? Do you know why so many Caucasians need facelifts? Because we don't know about lotion. See that? Only half of you laughed. That should have been everybody. Yeah, but a lot of you were sitting there like, well, what about lotion? What is this lotion you speak of, and what is the magic therein? Just to put it out there, you can use lotion on...
My wife handed me the divorce papers like she was closing a deal she'd already won. I signed on the spot and thanked her for finally making it easy. The shock on her face was the first honest thing I'd seen from her in 2 years. My name is Marcus Webb. I'm 48, and I run structural inspections for bridges and overpasses across 3 counties. It's a job built on noticing what other people miss: hairline cracks, corrosion under paint, the small signs that something load-bearing is about to fail. I can walk a span and tell you, within a foot, where it's going to give first. I never once suspected my own foundation was cracked until the day a lab report told me so. Renata and I met when I was 26 at a continuing education seminar of all places. She was 24, working reception for an orthodontics practice, and she laughed at my terrible jokes in a way that made the whole room feel warmer. We married 18 months later. For a long stretch, it was good, really good. I worked long hours climbing the inspection ranks. She ran the house and, later, ran herd on our son. Dominic is 19 now, a sophomore studying civil engineering 2 states over. He left for school last September, and watching him carry his own boxes into a dorm made something in my chest swell with a pride I didn't know how to say out loud. He's steady. Always has been. Then, 4 years ago, came Wesley. Renata's pregnancy, at 41, surprised us both. We hadn't planned it, but I've never been the type to fight what's already happening. You adjust, you shore it up, you keep the structure standing. When Wesley was born, I held him in that delivery room and loved him instantly and completely, the way you love anything small and entirely dependent on you. But something sat wrong in the back of my mind from early on. Wesley didn't resemble me, not in any single obvious feature, but in the accumulation of small things, the kind of pattern a trained eye catches without being able to name it right away. I told myself I was imagining connections that weren't there. Renata had been withdrawn during that pregnancy, quieter, more careful with her words, but I chalked it up to exhaustion and the strangeness of starting over at 41. Meanwhile, I kept working. My territory expanded to a major regional bridge project 90 minutes from home, and the schedule 8 whole weeks at a time. Renata said she understood. She said all the right words. But her phone started traveling with her everywhere, into the bathroom, propped face down at dinner, and her calendar filled with a rotating cast of girls' nights, a new pottery class on Tuesdays, and a friend named Bianca I never once met in 3 years. I saw all of it. I just didn't let myself add it up. The moment the denial cracked open was an ordinary Wednesday at Wesley's 3-year checkup. Renata had a conflict, so I took him. The pediatrician, Flipping through routine labs, mentioned Wesley's blood type in passing, type B. I'm type O. Renata is type A. I sat there nodding along to whatever she said next, hearing none of it, because even a rusty memory of high school biology told me that two type O parents don't produce a type B child. I drove home with Wesley babbling happily in his car seat about a dinosaur toy, put him down for his nap, and sat at my own kitchen table for a long time without moving. I didn't confront anyone that day. I made a decision instead. Find out everything quietly before showing my hand. That night, I ordered a private paternity kit online, had it shipped to the district inspection office under my name. Nobody blinks at a package arriving at a work site, and kept my routine exactly the same while I waited. 6:30 starts. Full inspection logs. A calm face for every crew I supervised, while something underneath me was slowly giving way. I also went back through our joint accounts for the first time in longer than I want to admit. I'd gotten comfortable letting Renata manage the household finances. That comfort cost me 18 months of cash withdrawals, always between $200 and $400, always on days she told me she was running errands. 11 withdrawals, just under $3,200, unexplained. Then I found 2 hotel charges at a boutique property downtown, both on nights I remembered clearly, one when I was working a storm damage inspection at 2 a.m., the other a weekend Renata told me she was staying with her cousin, who'd supposedly had a bad flu. I remembered asking how the cousin was doing. Renata had said, "Better, thanks." I collected Wesley's cheek swab during bath time on a Friday, while Renata was at what she called book club. He splashed water at me the whole time, delighted, oblivious. I mailed the sample the next morning. The results landed in my inbox 8 days later at 6:52 a.m. I was already parked at the job site. I read the line twice, excluded as biological father. Then I put my phone away, walked out to the crew, and ran the entire morning safety briefing without a single stumble. Nobody knew. That evening I drove to see my mother, Ruth, 74, sharp as a new blade, the least sentimental woman I've ever known. I laid it all out at her kitchen table, the blood type, the test, the hotel charges, the cash.
She didn't gasp.
She poured 2 cups of tea, sat back down, and asked, "How long has something felt wrong to you?" "Probably 2 years," I admitted. She nodded slowly, like a suspicion of her own had just been confirmed. "You always let a crack run too long before you patch it," she said. "Remember the Fairview overpass? You saw the spalling in spring and didn't file the report until August." That was my mother, no theatrics, straight to the point. "What's your plan?" she asked. "Talk to a lawyer first," I told her. "Move smart, not loud." She gave me one approving nod. "Don't let her know you know," she said. "People get careless when they still think they're winning." I hired an attorney named Priscilla Okafor the following week, recommended by a colleague who'd used her in a contentious property case. Her office was calm, orderly, no wasted motion. I liked her immediately. I laid out everything: the test, the bank records, the hotel charges. She didn't blink either. "You did exactly the right thing coming to me before saying a word to her," she said. "Your position is strong. Stronger than she knows. For now, keep acting normal. Let her believe she's still setting the terms while we quietly move every asset off the table." I walked out of that office feeling something I hadn't felt in weeks: steady ground. 2 weeks into working with Priscilla, my phone rang on a Thursday afternoon, not our usual Sunday call. Dominic's voice was flat when he said, "Dad, I came home last weekend to surprise Mom." She wasn't there. I used her tablet to watch something and it was still logged into her messages. He didn't need to finish. There was a name, Trent, and enough context that Dominic had put the tablet down fast and driven back to campus, without saying anything. "I didn't know if I should call you," he said. "You did exactly right," I told him. "Don't say anything to your mother. Don't change how you talk to her."
Can you do that?
"Yeah," he said quietly. Then, after a pause, "None of this changes anything with you and me." "I know that," he said, and something in his voice had gone from boy to something steadier. I told Priscilla about the call that night. She said it was useful confirmation, but advised keeping Dominic entirely out of any filings.
"He's 19, she said.
"Let him be your son, not your witness." A background check Priscilla commissioned turned up the outline of Trent's life fast. 39 years old, living with a roommate, a leased SUV, no property in his name, and 2 outstanding judgments totaling close to $50,000. Renata, it seemed, was preparing to trade a paid-off house and a stable income for a man with none of either. But the deeper finding hit harder. Cross-referenced financial and travel records pointed to a second man entirely, not Trent, as Wesley's likely biological father, a regional sales director named Colin Ashworth, married, 3 kids of his own, whom Renata had apparently crossed paths with at an industry conference roughly 4 years earlier. She hadn't just stepped outside the marriage once. She'd been running 2 separate lives while I logged 60-hour weeks to keep the mortgage paid. I drove out to my mother's that night and told her about Ashworth. She was quiet a long moment before saying, "What are you going to do with that?" "Use it. Legally. Through Priscilla." "Good," she said. "Win it clean or don't win it at all." By the time Renata slid a manila folder across the breakfast table 3 weeks later, divorce papers already filled out, her face arranged into something rehearsed and sorrowful, I was completely ready. The prenuptial agreement was airtight and fully executed. The house deed had been solely in my name since a refinance 4 years earlier, something she'd clearly forgotten. The account records were organized, time-stamped, and filed. "I think we both know this hasn't been working," she said. I opened the folder, read the first page, and signed without a flicker of hesitation. Then I slid it back to her and said, "Finally." The look on her face told me she'd expected grief, or anger, anything but the calm of a man who'd already done the work. When she suggested she'd stay in the house during proceedings, I told her the house was mine, always had been on paper, and that she was welcome to check the deed with her own attorney. When she reached for the marital assets, I set the prenup on the table between us. When she threatened to fight me over custody, I mentioned, quietly, without raising my voice, that I knew about the hotel charges, the cash withdrawals, and the name Trent. The silence that followed was the loudest thing in that kitchen. "What about Wesley?" she finally asked. And there it was, the real question underneath everything else. "I love that boy," I told her, and meant it completely. "That doesn't change because of what's in those documents. But I won't be legally named father to a child who isn't mine, and I won't pay support on that basis. The truth is already in the filing." Priscilla advised letting the court handle the paternity question without direct contact, and professionally, that was the right call. But I needed to say one thing to Colin Ashworth myself before I could set it down. He answered on the 4th ring, cautious. When I told him who I was, there was a long pause, then a quiet, "I didn't know." "I'm not interested in what you didn't know," I said. "I'm interested in what you do next. There's a 3-year-old who's going to need a father. It isn't going to be me, legally. That responsibility is landing on you now." I hung up before he could answer. Not triumphant. Just done with that piece of it. The court date arrived on a gray Tuesday in early spring. Priscilla had spent weeks building the case with the precision of someone who'd anticipated every objection before it was raised. I wore the same charcoal suit I wore to present major infrastructure findings to city councils. I wasn't walking into that courtroom looking beaten. It took just over 2 hours. The judge reviewed the prenuptial agreement and found it fully enforceable. The house and my personal accounts stayed mine. She reviewed the paternity evidence and, citing the applicable state code on rebutting the presumption of paternity, ruled that legal fatherhood be corrected to reflect the DNA findings. My name came off the birth record. Renata's attorney pushed for spousal support. The judge declined, noting the documented dissipation of marital funds didn't support the request. Outside on the courthouse steps, under a hard, clear sky, I didn't feel victorious. I felt clear, the way a bridge feels once the load test finally passes and you can close out the file and move to the next phase. Dominic came home for spring break 2 weeks later in the truck he'd bought himself the previous summer, working a survey crew. We hugged the short, solid way men do when they don't need to perform it. My mother joined us for dinner and told him, over dessert, that choosing engineering was the second best decision a man could make. When he asked what the first was, she said, "Knowing your own mind," and refused to elaborate further because she never did. That weekend, We drove up into the foothills for the overnight hike we'd talked about doing for years and never had time for. We didn't talk about Renata, not because it was forbidden, but because there was nothing left unsaid. That chapter was closed, the pages dry. Around the fire that night, Dominic said, out of nowhere, "I'm proud of you, Dad. You didn't fall apart. You just handled it." I thought about the kitchen table, the lab report, the courthouse steps, the wooden train set I'd bought Wesley that still sat unopened on his first Wednesday visit after the ruling, how he'd sat on the floor connecting the tracks with total, uncomplicated focus. I had good people in my corner, I said.
You.
My mother, Priscilla. Yeah, Dominic said. But you still had to be the one to carry it. We sat with that for a while, the fire popping, an owl somewhere in the dark above the ridge. What happens now? He asked. You build something new, I told him. That's what you do once the old structure's been cleared. You survey the ground and you build again. He nodded, watching the flames. I like that. The next morning we woke to a light frost on the tent and a sky scrubbed completely clean. We broke camp and started back down the trail together. Two men who knew exactly where they stood with each other, walking forward into a bright, cold morning with the whole path still ahead of them. I was holding my 6-year-old daughter's hand in the pediatric ICU when my phone lit up with a message that ended my marriage. Taking Maddie's college fund. Moving to Denver with him. Don't bother looking. I typed back 2 words, travel safe, and set the phone face down on the tray table. 3 days later, I found the storage unit she'd rented under a name that wasn't hers, and not long after that, the man she'd left with stopped answering his own phone. My name is Elias Cho. I'm 41, and I've spent 15 years designing failsafes for industrial control systems, the kind of software that keeps a chemical plant from becoming a headline. My whole career is built on one idea. Assume the system will be attacked, and build so the damage stays contained. I never once thought to apply that principle at home. Nora, my daughter, had been running a fever for 2 days when it spiked past 104, and she started seizing on the living room floor. I don't remember driving to the hospital. I remember the fluorescent lights of the ER bay, the smell of antiseptic, a nurse counting seconds out loud while an 4-line went into my daughter's small arm. My wife, Priya, was supposed to be at a work conference in Denver. I'd texted her twice, once when Nora spiked the fever, once from the ambulance bay. No reply to either. The reply came 4 hours later, while Nora lay hooked to monitors that beeped in a rhythm I'd already memorized. Taking Maddie's college fund. Moving to Denver with him. Don't bother looking. She'd used our daughter's old nickname, the one from before Nora decided she was too old for it. Even in the message ending our marriage, she couldn't be bothered to get the name right. I looked at Nora's chest rising and falling under the hospital blanket, at the number on the monitor slowly stabilizing, and something in me went very quiet and very cold. I typed back, travel safe. Then I put the phone away and asked the attending doctor to explain the treatment plan again, slowly, so I wouldn't miss anything. Nora was discharged at 3 in the morning with instructions about fever management and a follow-up appointment. I got her home, got her settled, and sat down at the kitchen table with my laptop while she slept. I've built my career on the assumption that people leave traces they don't think to hide. Priya wasn't careless by nature, but she also wasn't the one who'd spent a decade thinking about intrusion detection for a living. The joint checking account had gone from just under $60,000 to $11,000 over 6 weeks, in withdrawals sized to stay under the threshold that would flag on our bank's fraud monitoring. The account we'd opened for Nora's education, a 529 plan we'd both contributed to since she was born, had been drained entirely 9 days earlier. $31,000, gone in a single transfer to an account I didn't recognize. Buried in an old email folder labeled conference receipts, I found a thread going back 5 months with a man named Grant Ferreira. It started professional. They'd apparently met at an industry mixer, and by the 40th message it had turned into logistics, apartment listings in Denver, a moving company quote, a conversation about whether Nora would adjust better starting a new school in spring or fall. They'd been planning this since before Nora's fever ever spiked. I didn't confront anything that night. I built a folder instead, screenshots, statements, timestamps, the way I'd build an incident report after a breach. Evidence first. Reaction later. Priya's sister, Devika, called the next morning before I'd even had coffee. Priya says you've been controlling, she said, no greeting. That she felt trapped. I let her finish the script. Then I said she drained Nora's college fund while Nora was seizing in an ER.
Did she mention that part?
Silence, then a dial tone. I hired an attorney that same week, a woman named Renata Fields, recommended by a colleague who'd gone through something similarly ugly. Her office was small, unglamorous, and completely without patience for wasted motion. I laid out everything: the ICU, the message, the drained accounts, the emails with Grant. You did the right thing coming to me before confronting her, she said. Keep your composure. Let her think she still has the advantage while we take it away from her. Quietly. 3 days after I retained Renata, an anonymous tip landed with my employer's compliance office, a claim that I'd been accessing systems outside my authorization, exporting sensitive schematics. My manager pulled me into his office, looking apologetic and grim. I have to put you on leave while this gets investigated, he said. The complaint had specific timestamps. Someone who knew our systems sent this. Priya had asked me, over the past few months, an unusual number of casual questions about my access levels and audit logs. I'd thought she was just interested in my work. 2 days after that, a detective called about a harassment complaint, someone claiming I'd been surveilling Priya's new residence. The witness who'd filed it turned out to live in the same Denver apartment complex Priya had just moved into, and a background check Renata ordered turned up a $5,000 payment to him from an account linked to Grant. Memo line. Consulting. Then came the call from Nora's school. A woman claiming to be from Child Protective Services had phoned Nora's teacher, asking whether Nora seemed afraid at home. The teacher, unsettled by the call, phoned me directly instead of relaying it further. Real caseworkers don't fish for information over the phone, she told me. Something about that call felt wrong. Renata's assessment was blunt. They're trying to bury you under enough fronts that you can't build a case. IRS complaints, employer complaints, harassment claims, fake CPS calls, it's noise, and it's coordinated. We don't panic. We document every single piece and let the pattern speak. The custody hearing landed on a gray Tuesday morning. Priya appeared by video from Denver, composed, dressed like she was walking into a boardroom. Her attorney opened with the script I'd already heard from Devika: instability, control, an unsafe environment. Renata answered with the timeline: the ICU admission, the drained education fund, the emails with Grant dated months before the sudden move, the paid witness with a Denver address matching Grant's building, the fabricated CPS call traced to a Denver number. The judge, a woman with 2 decades on the family bench and very little patience for theatrics, asked Priya directly why she'd left the state without so much as a phone call during Nora's hospitalization. I felt unsafe, Priya said. Unsafe enough to empty your daughter's college fund on your way out, the judge replied, but not unsafe enough to file a police report, a protective order, or so much as mention it before now.
There was no good answer to that.
Temporary physical custody went to me. Visitation for Priya was set at 3 scheduled video calls a week, calls she showed up to less than half the time over the following month, a pattern Renata made sure was documented in full. 6 weeks later, Priya's attorney submitted an emergency filing. Priya had been diagnosed, she claimed, with an aggressive autoimmune condition and needed expanded custody time to make memories with Nora while she still could. It came with a note from a Denver physician. Renata pulled medical records and had them reviewed independently. The actual finding was a mild, well-managed thyroid condition. Nothing urgent, nothing that matched the language in the note Priya's team had submitted. When the judge asked Priya point-blank whether she had told Nora she was gravely ill, Priya didn't answer for a long moment. You used a 6-year-old as leverage, the judge said. That ends today. The fabricated urgency evaporated the case's remaining credibility on Priya's side. The court referred the misleading medical filing to the state bar for review. The forensic accounting came back thorough and damning. The education fund, the 6 weeks of structured withdrawals, a family trust distribution Priya had never disclosed, and, buried in the transaction history, a $50,000 wire from Grant to an account controlled by Priya's mother, timed almost exactly to Priya's departure. Grant, it turned out, had been facing a visa complication of his own, and a marriage to a U.S. citizen would have solved it neatly. It hadn't been love driving the timeline. It had been paperwork. He disappeared not long after the funds ran short, taking what remained of the Denver account with him. Priya called me once, quiet and stripped of the performance she'd carried into every hearing. "He's gone," she said. "He took everything. Travel safe," I told her again, and ended the call. The final decree gave me full physical custody, ordered repayment of the drained education fund, and left Priya with supervised visitation contingent on completed parenting classes she has, so far, not finished. Nora is 7 now. Her fevers are a memory that mostly lives in follow-up appointments and a chart in her file, nothing more. We have a rhythm, pancakes on Saturdays, a reading chart on the fridge she's inordinately proud of, a small blue nightlight she insists on keeping even though she doesn't need it anymore. Dad, I just like it. At work, the investigation cleared me completely, every access log accounted for, every claim against me traced back to a fabricated complaint filed from an out-of-state IP address. I was reinstated with an apology and, not long after, a promotion. Some evenings I sit on the back steps after Nora's asleep and think about the difference between a system that fails and one that's attacked. A failure is an accident. An attack has intent behind it, a plan, a timeline. What happened to my family wasn't a failure. It was an attack, executed with real planning, against people who trusted the person planning it. But containment held. That was the whole design principle, the one I'd spent a career building into other systems and never thought to apply to my own life until I had no choice. Assume the breach, protect what matters most, and don't let the damage spread past the point where it can be repaired. Nora is protected. She's steady, curious, unafraid. Whatever else came apart, that held, and that's the only metric that was ever going to matter.